may the soul of Mr. Dixon and the other faithful that departed continue to rest in peace.
Amen.
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 Thank you very much, President. Next on our agenda is number 4, which will be the technical presentation and citation. This will be anchored by the President-elect, Mr. Tolu. Mr. Tolu, please, you have the floor, and then we'll try as much as possible to work with time. As you can see, there's a time allocated for each of the events on the agenda. So, Mr. Tolu, you have the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, dear colleagues. This morning we have Dr. Godwin Bama as our resource person. Currently is an assistant director in training at the Petroleum Institute, EFUN. Dr. Godwin was born in the early 70s and he holds a bachelor technical degree in microbiology from Futiola. He holds a Master of Science degree in environmental quality management from Uniben. He obtained his PhD in environmental pollution and control from FUPRI in 2023. He equally has PGD in International Expert Management Consultancy practice from International Expert Consultants UK, and PGD in Organizational Development and Transformation from International Professional Managers Association in United Kingdom in 2021. He has over 2 decades of cognate working experience, and he has over the time obtained over 20 professional qualifications, including a Bosch GC Azov studies, ISO 1702 2017, lead assessor, ISO 1401 2015, lead assessor, ISO 9001, is an impact certified analyst, HSA 3 level environmental competence, hands-on basic molecular biological techniques, to mention but just for a few. He has been responsible for teaching safety and environmental courses, hands-on training in petroleum and petroleum product analysis, mentorship of younger colleagues, graduate trainings and student and industrial training. Other duties include coordinating HSC, KMS, PTI, MISDO program, research group, unit, professional, specialized courses, and key QC activity at different levels. He's a member of several both local and international professional bodies like Institute of Professional of Nigeria, Safety Professional of Nigeria, ISPON, Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria, IPAN, American Society of Professional, ASSP, Certifying International Professional Manager, MCIPM UK, International Professional Manager Association, NPMA UK, Certified International Expert Consultant, Nigeria Environmental Society, Nigeria Society of Microbiology, American Society of Microbiology, Nigeria Society of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, among others. Dr. Bama has attended and presented papers at several international and local presentations, conferences, workshops, and published over 25 articles, many on cutting-edge subjects, both in international and local journals. He is happily married to Jumai and blessed with lovely children. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our resource person this morning, Dr. Godwin J. Bama. You are welcome, sir. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my president. Thank you, Oga Tolu, for that wonderful citation.
Thank you, sir.
Just give me some few minutes. Let me share my slides. Yeah, I hope everyone is seeing the slides.
Yes, I can see it. Permit to work system and confined space management.
Yes. Thank you, my president. I was properly introduced. Once again, my name is Dr. Birma Godwin, and I'm a humble staff of the Petroleum Training Institute here in Ifru, Delta State. And I want to first and foremost thank our president and the entire members of the executive for seeing it deemed fit for me to make this presentation on this bi-monthly meeting. I count it a privilege, and I don't play with such an opportunity. I appreciate you so much. And so because of time, because I'm seeing 45 minutes maximum for this presentation, and I have about 60-something slides, so I will be a little bit faster. So you just follow me up in this presentation. So probably anywhere where there's need, you can just call my attention, or possibly just drop whatever question that you have. Maybe at the end of the day, we can now try to address them. We have a lot of CSPs also probably that will help in to attend some of our questions in case I may fail. So we have this as our outline for this presentation. We are going to look at a brief introduction and definitions and types of permit to work systems. We look at the functions of permit to work, operations, application of permit to work, under which we have main section of the PTW. We also look at initiation, permit initiation and documentation. What are some of the requirements of PTW systems? We also look at permit forms that we need to fill. Then we also look at the limitations. And we will now go to the management of the confined spaces. We'll look at the definition also, and we'll look at some specific hazards that are associated with confined space. We'll look at categories and functions of confined space workers. Then, of course, we'll look at the component of the confined space permit. Look at mitigations of some of the hazards associated with confined spaces. We'll look at risks of working in confined spaces, confined space fatality statistics. We look at legal organizational requirements also for confined spaces. We look at the component of confined space management, documentation and reporting. Then from there, we'll draw our conclusion. And so on the introduction, as we are aware that PTW is actually a procedure that has been put in place to make sure that high-risky tasks are very safe, and that people also are authorized, appropriate people also are authorized to work under strict control and supervision. And at the end of the day, we'll be able to follow the procedures also so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to have a task completed, hazardous tasks completed in a safe manner. Actually, that's just PTW refers to. And however, if for some of us that may want to have an idea of the historical incidents of how PTW comes to play, is that PTW actually started a very long time ago, around the 20th century, by the US Navy. And they felt at a particular point that there's need for them, because of some of the high-risk work that they do, particularly hot works and welding, that there's need for them to have a proper authorization to be able to do that. And they also on the initiation of that PTW. And thereafter, UK also started bring up regulations under health and safety executives. And they were able to bring some regulations also as far as PTW is concerned, as far as at that time in 1970s. And thereafter also some certain events that has occurred that actually influenced the this PTW also to come to play globally. And one of such instances is that one that happened in 1974 also in Flexborough in the UK. And one also that is probably the most popular one that we are familiar about is the Piper Alpha disaster also that happened in UK in 1988. And that incident is one of the major ones. I have the video clip, but because of the time that I have, probably we might not be able to see this video. But I will share it. It's on the slides as much as possible. We can have our time so that for some of us that are not aware, so that can see it. But the accident is one of the devastating accident as far as safety is concerned around the world. Piper Alpha is an oil platform that was situated in the North Sea. It's about 120 miles northeast of Aberdeen, Scotland. And the incident claimed about 167 lives out of the 226 men that were on board, leaving just about 61 behind. It was actually a very serious matter. And what actually caused the incident, the story had it that there were maintenance activity that was done the previous day, and pump A was off and blocked. So it was the line was blanked as it were. And the following day, the shift workers came. There was no proper handover that time, and the person in charge just went and opened the pump that the line was blanked, and there was a serious pressure that generated, and it led to explosion, and it resulted to that serious accident that killed this so many persons. So that was one of the main events that reinforced this PTW that we are trying to look at. What is actually a permit to work system? It's actually a formal documented safety procedure that forms part of the system of work, which ensures that all necessary actions are taken before, during, and after particular high-risk activity. And it typically tries to specify the job to be done, identify potential hazard, those ones that are visible and the ones that are not visible. It also recommends precautionary measures that needs to be taken in order to contain the hazards that are identified. Of course, communicate this information to all relevant stakeholders as far as this job is concerned. And of course, we have a permit holder that's going to be in charge or give the approving authority for these permits to work. And of course, we expect that it's only competent people that are the ones that are well-trained that are to undertake every single responsibility as far as this permit to work is concerned. Before we continue, I think there's need for us also to have an understanding of what permit is not actually. I was taking one class one time, and I was just asking a very careless question that what is work permit? You know, and somebody was trying to bring it. Work permit is just very different from PTW, so to say. So work permit is just an authorization of somebody to work, probably that an expert that finds himself in a foreign land. That is not permit to work system. Permit to work system also is not just a permission that's given out to carry out dangerous work. No. Due diligence is expected by the person that's giving that permission to check and make sure that every other details necessary for this work to be conducted in a safe manner is being put on the ground. And it's not also, permit to work also is not just a statement that hazards have been identified probably and risks eliminated. No. So because sometimes in the process of the work itself, some new hazards also probably would be generated in the process. And so if we just make it just a statement, and then at the end of the day, we might not end the work safely. And that's not actually our target. And of course, PTW also does not work on its own. No matter how beautiful a PTW is being developed and constructed, if the people that are involved are not actually following this thing to the letter, then at the end of the day, the whole aim also will be defeated. So if PTW is just not all these things. So, but at the end of the day, we should be able to follow the procedure to the letter, and all of us has to be committed to it to see that it's workable. We have different types of permit to work, and all the permit to work that we have are actually termed to be high risky jobs. For some of us that are conversant with the risk assessment, we will understand that anytime we are saying that this work is high risk, even though the possibilities of some of these things to happen that's on the axis of the likelihood for an event to happen might be very, very marginal. but you will discover that the severity of this event, anytime they happen, is always very high. So we now have values at the extreme end on the severity of the incident, and that's why we have to classify these particular activities to be permit to work associated activities. And I have a very long list, but for the purpose of this presentation, we are going to dwell much on our confined spaces work permit, which is actually the focus of this presentation today. However, we have other permits, hot work, cold work, and work over water permits. Let me pause here for this work over water. We can remember the last incident that happened in Seplat when the badge was being relocated from one location to another, something that happened. Probably I want to associate it with the lack of proper cold hot work over water permit. Probably it was not, or it was not implemented very well, maybe if it was done very well. So these are some of the issues. So what are the functions of permit to work system? Number one, it ensures that the proper authorization of specific work is done. Then confirm the identity, nature, timing, and extent and limitations of the work that's going to be done. Of course, we also have to ensure that a criteria is established to consider hazards that are inherent in the work that's going to be done. And of course, confirm that hazards have been removed, if not controlled totally as far as this work is concerned. The function of the permit also ensures that persons in charge are aware of the job. So we don't draw permit to work for people that are novice in an area, but we are drawing this permit to work to people that we are sure that understand the work that they are going to do. Then, of course, they also confirm that work starts are conducted and finished as safely as required. And sometimes, if needs be, the work also is suspended safely. Then, of course, control and confirm who has control over locations, especially when we have a very large facility that we have different locations. So the owners of the location also has to be confirmed that, yes, they are aware of this work that's going on and they are being coordinated alongside in this work that we are doing. Then, of course, provide records of steps involved in the process of executing this particular work. The applications and operations of this permit work also, we have about 4 areas that we are to consider here. And the first one is the main sections of PTW. Then we'll also look at the permit to work initiation and documentation, requirements of permit to work system, and permit to work forms. The main sections of the permit to work are about 4 also. The first one is issue. We have receipt, we have clearance or return to service, and we have cancellation. Then in some certain organizations also, they may have extension, but it's not actually every organization, or probably the regulations also does not include this part, because basically what the regulations are trying to do is to lay a generic framework for this permit to work system. So it's flexible, and some organizations that feel that there should be extension, fine, they can do that. But I can give you an example for an organization like our NLG in Boni. There's nothing like extension of permit to work as far as they are concerned. So once the timing frame for that work permit to work is expired, then the work a new permit has to be raised. So that's their own policy, and it's working for them. So in the first step is issue, and this section gives description of the work to be carried out. So we'll have the nature of the work, where the work to take place in terms of location, names of the authorized persons for the work, commencing date and time, period, validity period, as well as if there are any restrictions. Then, of course, we need to assess all the hazard associated with that job. And of course, we control, the controls also has to be stated on the issue. And the control has to do with probably isolation of service, appropriate PPEs, atmospheric monitoring and control, then additional permits. Sometimes there could be some certain work that could be done. For instance, if we are to go into confined space, for instance, and we are going to do welding, that's hot work. It means that a separate permit has to be raised for that work, also assessing the peculiar nature of conducting hard work. Of course, we also have emergency procedure for any eventualities that could come up. Of course, the authorizing manager signs this dates and the timing, and formally, check every other thing that needs for this work to commence. Then the next one that we're going to have here is the receipt. And this is what we call also signing on to permit. In this section, a competent person accepts this permit from the authorizing person, and most of the time is the team lead of the people that are going to do the work. Sometimes could be the supervisor also will sign this on behalf. And what it means is that they understand all all the hazards that are associated with this one, and they also understand the risks that are involved, and that they're also promising that, yes, they are going to implement these control measures as far as the work period is concerned to the letter. Then, of course, the person also accepting this permit will also sign on behalf of the team and put his signature and date and time. So it means that the work is good to go, and the work will now start. So after the work is being done also, then we'll now have the next, which is also the third stage, which is clearance, or sometimes we refer to as return to service. And what it means here is that the supervisor that accepted this work also as a competent person will now confirm that, yes, they have started the work, they have done the work, and the work is now completed, and that all isolations cannot be removed, and that work also can be returned formally. This is the third stage of the main section of the PTW system. Then, of course, the last step that we have here is cancellation. And the approving officer now, who is the manager, receives this permit to work and accept it as handback. And it makes sure that the workplace is also ready, and workers can also go back. And of course, he has the power at this junction also to cancel the permit to work. And what cancellation refers here is that no any other activities is going to be done under this particular authorization of this permit. If there's any other work at all, probably a new permit to work system is going to be raised. Permit to work documentation. It is very important also to note here that permit to work, especially when it comes to auditing this time around, the document is going to be generated as a procedure, as a working tools, as far as that organization is concerned, and that it should be controlled also. Persons has to be designated that are going to be in charge of these documents, as either document controller or whatever name that every organization may have for it, and also have a permit owner, and periodically also this document probably may be reviewed, and when necessary, amendments will come into play. And of course, be a standard to be audited against, like I've said. So if auditors come, some of the documentations that is, of course, in auditing, one of the first things that is being called for is the documentation that's going to be reviewed. Requirement of permit to work system. So this permit to work system also requires that, number one, it should be formal and must be documented. What it means is it's not a side business stuff. So it has to be received formally, and everybody should be aware. Of course, it has to be very simple to operate and understand and implement as it were. And of course, every other person involved also as a requirement has to be committed and be involved in this work. So it's not going to be, this one is not my, but the whole lot of the people on board has to be committed from the top to the bottom. And of course, provide accurate and concise information. We don't want information that are not actually wrong in this, so that at the end of the day, we will not have one information that's inaccurate will result to issues. Of course, we have to liaise coordination, proper coordination of the various stakeholders and areas where this work also will affect. We have to notify them. Of course, we have to set boundaries and limits are properly marked and identified. And sometimes also, if we have a situation whereby contractors have specific tasks also, they have also to key to this permit to work system, including any briefings that will come. The next thing that we have is permit to work form this time around. The features that are very paramount are as follows. Number one, we have permit title. Of course, as a document, you should have a title. And of course, permit number, which is going to be making reference to at any particular time, T. We may have permits that we're going to have two permits that may have the same title. But what is going to be a differentiating factor is the permit number. And we have also job location, plant identification or description of work to be done and its limitation. And we have to have also hazards that are identified, including residual hazards as the case may be. And of course, protective equipment that may be required. Authorization also, like we said earlier, that somebody has to confirm that isolation have been made and precautionary measures also have been taken. You know, of course, we have to have an acceptance, somebody that will accept, which is normally the supervisor or a team lead of the people. Also confirming that information also are well explained to the workers involved, so that nobody is going to go there and it is when we have started the work that somebody will now say that I don't understand this. That's going to cause a huge setback, and sometimes it can result to even an incident. Of course, we have handback, like we have said in our third stage of the main sections. Of course, somebody has to sign, and the names of the person are going to be signed in details also. So when need arises, only the originator might amend permit to work. Most often, permit to work is not actually amended halfway. But if needs be, the person that originates the permit has probably some levels of power to amend permit to work system. Then, of course, we have extension and shift procedures also. This thing has to be documented in our PTW program plans, that if there's any shift or if there's any extension, who takes over. And of course, signatures has to be appended there so that to take responsibility. Like the Piper Alpha situation that I mentioned earlier, part of the reason why that accident happened is that there was no proper handover among the shift workers. And that was what resulted to, so any person that's taking over, there should be a proper briefings and details of the stage where the work has reached and where they are going to take with understanding of every precautionary measures also has to be taken. Of course, permit to work most of the time are raised in triplicates. One copy has to be displayed in the workplace. Of course, one is going to reside with authorizing manager. And sometimes we have a central location where this PTW also will also be kept for other persons that are not aware. And of course, it's very important for clear communication to entire workforce and many people that are have interest or associated with this work. PTW also, like I've said earlier, it's not just a paper, so it shouldn't have it shouldn't be looked at that with that mindset that it's not paper. No, of course we have to treat it with much respect, and we have to commit ourselves also to it. What are the limitations? Like we said, permit to work is not going to do the magic of the work or protection on its own. So that's a huge limitation. And for us to be able to have that permit to work system work effectively, number one, only authorized person should issue permit. So it's not somebody that, so there should be a person designate at any particular time that will issue a permit to work, which is known. Permit issuer also must be familiar with the hazards in the workplace, especially in the area where job is going to be carried out. And of course, precautions has to be checked So due diligence is expected of the person that is issuing this permit to make sure that, yes, every other thing that needs to be checked are checked and they are in order, in place. Permit to work also should be treated, like I said, with much respect. All permit conditions also must be met, especially for instance, if we have to do with atmospheric, we will have a defined condition that has also to be met before we issue. Of course, like we said earlier, permit to work should not be amended halfway. If there's need be, of course, the originator needs to do that amendment if it's actually necessary. And staff must be trained and have competent person also to do every aspect of this permit to work system. Of course, it has to be monitored from beginning to the end for this permit to work system to work. So this is a huge limitation, and these are the things that we need to assist the permit to work for us to be able to have a good result. So that's just brief background as far as permit to work system. Our key focus today is confined space management, and the management of confined space on a broad view has to do with us identifying a confined space, assess the hazards that are there, ensure that there are controls, that are put in place, and of course to make sure also that persons are being trained. And of course, sometimes could be regulation, set a guidelines as regulations or organizational requirements also to follow at the end of the day to make sure that, yes, our work are conducted safely and the workers also are safe. What is actually a confined space? Confined space is a space that has all the following characteristics. Number one, it is large enough and so configured that a person can boldly enter into the space. So somebody can access the space. Number two, it also has limited or restricted means of entry and exit. So that's one of the major characteristics of a permit to work system. So it means that it has a very small place and restricted, either by way of the size or configuration of the exit or entry points. And of course, the confined space is not actually meant for continual occupancy by people or workers. So it's a place that you just go in from time to time and come out. Nobody stays there as an office or probably as a residential place. Nobody stays in confined space. So so this is actually, if we have a space that meets up this characteristic that we have mentioned, then we can say that such a place is a confined space. And good examples of confined spaces are storage tanks, tank trucks, mud pits, bulk tanks, process vessels, furnace boxes, seaways, etc., etc. We also have a large number of hazards that could be associated with confined spaces. Basically has to do with the atmospheric, mechanical hazards, fire, biological hazards, some electrical hazard, noise, and so on and so on, inside the confined spaces. So sometimes also we might have some hazards also that could be outside the confined spaces, and it may have tendency or impact on the confined space itself. A hazard that has to do with probably traffic hazard, psychological and physiological hazards for people that are going to be outside. These are some of the hazards also that are associated as far as confined space. They are part of it. What are the categories of workers that are involved? There are so many. So, but few ones that I have here is that we must have an attendant. We have authorized entrants and contractor entries. We have supervisors. We have rescue and emergency workers, as well as authorized gas testers. And what are the functions of these people? For the entrance, these are people that are going to actually go into the confined space to work, and their duty is to make sure that the place is properly ventilated and isolated. It's empty or at least made safe for their entry. And of course, they have to keep in communication with the attendants that's going to be outside also. So anytime the attendants give instruction, the entrants also probably, if there's need for them to come out, to just come out immediately without asking too much questions while they are still there. Of course, they have to be familiar with the work to be performed. They have to also be familiar with the procedure and the PPE requirements that they need. And of course, oftentimes quality requires also that they go into the confined space even with the procedure handy, so that they can able to follow up as they are going. Of course, to follow the safe rules and procedures, like I've said, from the beginning of the work while they are there to the end of it. Otherwise, they may not be able to get if they are not following the procedure. The attendants could be people that are going to be outside this time around, not inside the confined space. And what are their duties? Number one, they are there to monitor the people that are going to monitor the people that are going to go into the confined space and people that are going to come out at any particular time T. And of course, they are to guide also the confined space in terms of unnecessary obstructions, like we highlighted earlier, probably traffics, and so on and so forth. Of course, it's their duty if there's a need also to call on emergency services. It's their duty also to do that as fast as possible once there's an emergency. And of course, it's their duty also to monitor the atmospheric condition in the confined space during the entire work activity period. We also have authorized gas tester. This time around, whenever we have presence of flammable vapors, toxic gases, or deficiency of oxygen, this is one of the first things that need to be done. The gas testers has to assess all this. And of course, they have to determine if there are volatile, among the gases also volatile component or toxic gases. And of course, anytime we have this particular two gases, we have to notify the HSE, and the HSE now will now work alongside with us. And of course, we have the trained gas testers also, people that know the equipment that they are working with and the appropriate procedures that the equipment requires to able to do the measurement that is required. And of course, they have good knowledge of the limitations of the equipment also, that so that they will be sure that it's a well-calibrated instrument and is giving them accurate result at any particular time T. Of course, the monitoring device sometimes could just be handy, especially during the period when the work has started. It could be a device that a threshold has been set, and anytime probably if there's any one of these gases, it will give you a beep and you will know that yes, it's getting to a threshold, and you now ask the entrance to exit. We also have fire watch, and as the case may be, these persons also has to be knowledgeable about flammable materials associated with this type of work. So it is their duty to know that. And anytime there's a spark or welding sputter, it is also their duty to make sure that it's being controlled. Then, of course, firefighting equipment also should be ready and available whenever the need is there's a need, and immediately it should be brought to the site. Of course, alarm system also could be there for fire, and anytime you hear this alarm, it means that work should be suspended immediately without asking further questions. Of course, the work site is also monitored. 30 minutes after, especially if there's any hot work, like I've said, sometimes in confined space you can still do hot work, and 30 minutes after, in case of any residual fire, also you have to stay for that period to ensure that yes, there's no fire before you can finally go. What are the components of a confined space permit? Like we have highlighted in the PTW, we have components also. And the first thing that we have there is that the confined space to be entered and its corresponding number. You should have a number, like we have said. Of course, the purpose of the entry sometimes could just be for just an inspection, date and time, then authorized entrance, attendants, rescue services, and supervisors also will have listed on that components. Of course, the hazard and appropriate controls. Then we have acceptable entry conditions also has to be defined, so that we will make sure that yes, those conditions are met before we can. Of course, testing and monitoring results when you do the evaluation of the atmosphere, then you get values. Those values has to be documented. And subsequently, even as the work is going, those results also has to be documented as records this time around. And of course, proper means of communication will be there. Equipment also and the PPE used on this side also of entry should also be highlighted. And of course, any other informations that are very relevant as far as the operation is concerned. So we have different ways to mitigate hazards. I may not want to dwell much here because I believe that in the hierarchy of control, these are some things that majority of us are familiar with, but as the case may be, for confined spaces, the first question is that before we can do any work in a confined space, we have to ask a capital question that can this work not be done without entering into this confined space? That's and until we give an answer, no, there is no option, then before we cannot talk of as eliminating risks. Of course, other thing has to do with engineering control, extraction, ventilation, and so on and so forth. So we have also a lot of risks that are associated with confined space, loss of consciousness, fire and explosion, suffocation, trip and fall, and so on. These are some risks that are associated with confined spaces. So we have a very small statistics here of fatality of incidents that happen as a result of confined space activity. This is obtained from US Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we can see that with all the regulations and organizational requirements in UK between the year of 2011 to 2018, we had a minimum of 88 fatalities that has happened as a result of confined space activity. And we have a maximum of about 166 persons in 2017. So we can see that this is a very serious issue. We probably in some part of the world, I don't know, very sorry to say, maybe like Nigeria, a life might not, lives might not be, but in some places, one life is very, very important. And you can see the very large number of persons as fatality that has, as a result of, so it's actually a serious issue. And so because of that, there's actually need for us to be able to have confined space regulations or organizational requirements. And I want to say here that for now, there's no confined space standards or procedure that has been standardized globally for use. What happens is that majority of the developed countries and industrialized countries are now bring up their regulations, national regulations to guide this confined space and PTW activities. In Nigeria, we have a Factory Act of 1987, section 29 particular also briefly that just highlighted confined space activity. In Nigeria, I also spoke with my key friend, a friend that's a key staff in SON. He confirms to me also that there's no regulation as far as confined space and PTW is involved. However, the defunct Department of Petroleum Resources has a very robust regulations on the confined space, and that is highlighted in their documents, Guide 0037 in 2000 that was signed into law in 2020. And it's a very large document that I appreciate defunct Department of Petroleum Resources concerned as far as the subject matter is concerned. In the UK, we have Statutory Instrument of Health and Safety of 1997, also, which is a very robust document also that put regulations as far as confined space is concerned. Also in US, we have number 29 of Code of Federal Regulations, also 1910.146 particularly. It's an enlarged regulations also from Occupational Safety and Health Administration as far as US is concerned about that put regulations also on permit required for confined spaces activity. So, so these are very important. unfortunately, it's not all the countries that have this regulation as it were at the moment. So a majority of what we have patches in place are organizational requirement from organizational policies. For all organizations, especially organizations that are involved in high risk and confined spaces activity, they always have in their policy requirements that has to be met by themselves in order to be able to have safe work as far as this confined space or any PTW system is required. I know, like I have said, we don't have much, but when you go to places like Shell, we have probably some of our members that are there, they can confide to us how robust their requirements and policies are as far as PTW is concerned and confined space operations. And so it's very important to know that it's very important for us to have this thing in place, either as a regulation, subsequently, maybe as time goes on, we might have from some that we need to follow. But even if we don't have, every other one person here that want to set up an organization, especially that has to do with this high risk activity, it's very important that we should be able to put it in your policy and develop a robust standard, to follow as far as this is concerned. So, what are the components of confined space? Please, I hope we're together. Hello?
Yes, we are.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So,
Few minutes.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, what are the components of this confined space management? We have about nine of them, and they have been highlighted here. General requirement, we have training requirements, we have identifying and evaluation of confined space, labeling. We also have PPE, testing and evaluation of confined space, gas purging, mechanical ventilation, as well as rescue procedures and emergency services. The general requirements is a little bit summary of every other thing that's required. So, the basic thing here is that number one, like we've said, the confined space entry has to accompanied with PTW. That's the first thing. So we don't go into confined space, especially confined space that is permit required space. We don't just go in like that for whatever reason. Even if for just an ordinary inspection, we need PTW. And of course, hazards has to be identified, assessed, risks assessed, and put control measures, appropriate control measures in place to mitigate the hazards that have been identified and ensure that there's a work. In addition, we also have to, all energy sources that are connected to the confined space also has to be properly identified also and isolated whenever there's a confined space operations. Of course, the confined spaces that confined space also that contains or have potentials, to contain serious atmospheric hazard also has to be tested prior to entry. So we don't just jump into this until when it's done, this is done, assess before we can talk about going into the confined space. And of course, attendant and gas tester also has to be there, like we've said earlier. And at minimum, the attendant is required to monitor the entrance to the confined space, test the air quality, and alert rescue team if necessary. Of course, this is also very important for the attendants that they have to be there for the whole entire duration of the work activity. You cannot just leave abundant workers in a confined spaces also and go to somewhere for whatever reason. So if if the work is elongated, probably we might have a shift, as well as even the people that are inside the work will have a breakout, so that we'll be able to make sure that yes, the place is guarded all the period. Or adequate supervision, it's also very important, and confined space meets acceptable entry conditions. That's what the supervisor has to ensure. Authorized spaces also enter. No one that is not highlighted on the PTW will just come and whoever the person is, even you are the overall boss of that organization, if you are not on the list, you are not permitted to enter. Entry into a confined space also has to be monitored and tracked. Then work terminates immediately in the event of adverse change of the atmosphere. So, so that we can evaluate it before we can now initiate another entry. So any person entering the confined space also must be physically fit. This is very important. Among the trainings, probably, which we might look at it later, is that somebody has to be fit for you to be able to enter into a confined space. A specific ability for heat stress, probably ability also for to withstand adverse condition should be some of the key things that you need to. Well, of course, you have to be physically fit for you to, and psychologically stable for you to be able to enter into confined space. The employer also should provide. The next thing is the training, and it's the duty of the employer also to provide trainings to all the employees as far as their activities is concerned with this confined space activity. And what are the things that we're trying to achieve here? Number one, we want to make sure that our workers have understanding, they have the knowledge, and they have the skills, requisite skill required as far as permit to work in order to perform their work effectively. The training also is necessary to be provided. Number one, before any worker will be assigned to do any confined space work for the first time, that worker has to be trained first. Number two, whenever there's a change of duty also, that worker has to be trained. Change of duty in the sense that probably maybe you enter the confined space one time to go and inspect, and this time you have to enter the confined, maybe you are a multifaceted person to go and do a welding work or painting as the case may be. That person also has to be trained. Of course, anytime a confined space also is changed, you know, workers also has to be trained because of the different configuration of this new confined space and the associated hazard that it may bring also. Such an individual also has to be trained. And of course, anytime we have a deviation also from permit to work entry procedure, maybe there's a change on the procedure, or probably whenever we see an inadequacy in the workers in doing their jobs, such person also probably, or group of persons needs to be trained. And of course, the training shall establish proficiency in the worker to be able to perform their duty as far as this section is concerned. Then the employer also shall certify that, yes, these are the people that have been trained and they are okay to be able to accomplish any confined space operations. Of course, we have so many topics or subjects that confined space workers need to be trained, but few among them, including PTW system, they have to be very much aware, like probably in a session like what we are doing today. Physical hazard and control, they have to be trained on that. Atmospheric hazard and control measures, they need to know. Of course, personal protective equipment, sometimes as easy as it may be, there are some certain equipments that honestly PPE that if you are not appropriately trained, it might even be a hazard to you as a worker. So you need to be trained. I'll give you an example, especially with this confined space. They will tell you that people that wear self-contained breathing apparatus don't keep bears. You know, anytime you're going to that has to be clean so that the apparatus should be lapping on your body and not providing any small space that gaseous emissions can penetrate into your facial areas.
Dr. Brimo, Dr.
Yes,
Brimo, so sorry, sir. You have 3 minutes more to wrap up, sir. 3 minutes, sir.
Wow.
Yes,
wow.
sir.
Wow. So these are some of the training requirements, and also we have to identify the confined spaces itself. And just like the definition that we did the other time, before you can say that this space is confined space, they have to meet that definition. And when they meet the definition, it means that they are confined spaces. If they don't meet this definition, it means that they are not confined spaces. For you to also say that this space, confined space, is a permit required space, they have to also meet these conditions. You know, contains potential hazardous atmosphere. We have some other materials. The internal configuration also is such that it can present a hazard. And especially when we have a confined space that converges, the walls converges downward, and of course it contains any other serious hazard. Then of course, if one of this is answered yes, then of course that space is a permit required confined space. So thereafter, for each space, we have a documentation for it in terms of assigning a number and the condition of such confined spaces. And of course, we also label it. If we have a confined permit required confined space, then we'll not give it this label: danger, permit required, do not enter. If it's not a permit required confined space, also we'll label it as caution, non-permit required confined space, do not bring hazard into the space. Of course, this is an example of a confined space form that we need to be filled. This is for the first one is for non-permit required. That has to be done, and the continuous evaluation of the space has to be done, because there could be a change and we have to reclassify such spaces. So this one is actually for confined space that we do the initial monitoring of the air, and subsequently we do another one and do another one as the work is being proceeded. Of course, PPE, I will skip this because there are things that we know. But very important as far as confined space is concerned, air purifying respirators and air supplying respirators are very crucial. They are very crucial PPE as far as confined space is concerned. And of course, we have to reevaluate the confined spaces. I don't know this time. We do have also do gas purging, and whenever we have gases that are either flammable or toxic in nature, that confined space has to be purged, and we use innate gases to do that. Of course, we do also ventilation to remove some of these things sometimes. However, it's very important here that we don't use oxygen particularly, because oxygen itself also cause what we call oxygen toxicity, and it may affect toxicity affect brain. It can affect our lung also as well. So we use blowers or local exhaust ventilators to be able to do that. Very important, there's need also to have rescue procedure and emergency arrangements on the ground, because these things, no matter how careful we are, because of the nature of human being and for unforeseeable circumstances also, and there's need for us to have rescue services handy, and of course, the people has to have knowledge of the confined space location and risks also that involve. We might also need to make arrangement even for non-entry rescue arrangements. Sometimes we might not need to, so we can use like things like tripod so the people that are going to go into the confined space for any work could be wearing a full body harness that has a full body contact with D-ring at the back, so that we can easily remove such person out. Of course, trained persons also are required here. You have to go for good training. And of course, rescue drills also has to be put in place as part of policy to ensure that, yes, people are familiarized with any rescue arrangement which the need arises. Documentation is very key, like we said earlier, which is closing this. So whenever we have permit, of course, the first thing is that confined space management program has to be developed for any organization at all. And of course, all the confined spaces has to be classified, either permit required or non-permit required, and we have a register for it. So these are some small things that are very important. So of course, the hazard analysis that we have done also, we have to document it and keep them. Of course, permit required confined space entry for all the activities that's been ever done in the, we have to have them also keep. And of course, copies of training certificates, competency matrix, and so on has to be also there. Of course, pre-entry checklist also will also have records for it as it may be required. So I want to conclude here that it is essential to implement PTW system as part of the safe system of work in all high-risk work activities, like confined space that we're dealing with today. identify all the hazards are identified, risks are assessed, and we have a competent persons also in place. A confined space management plan needs to be established, implemented, maintained, and documented also in order to prevent accident from, of course, operations, and guarantee, at the end of the day, will guarantee health and safety of our workers. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. So I think I will stop it here. I think my 3 minutes is over. So
yes,
we want to listen to our various comments.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wealth of knowledge you have shared and you are giving to us. We really appreciate you, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Obama.
Thank you. Most welcome.
The next on our agenda is question and answer. If anybody has any question, this is time for you to ask. You will agree with me, for those of us who have been involved in permit to work system, in confined space, and in other parameter, that we can possibly not give all the details in 1 hour. It's highly involving and technically inclined, but Dr. Obama has done justice to it within the ambit of our time. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate. So please, question and answer or any concern so that we can address it.
So, Mr. Brimo, you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
Mr. Banky, please, there's somebody that sent chats on the platform, so you can just read it out.
Yes, I can see the person Onuvwagbo Obduje. He said, my first time joining from a link shared by a friend. I have a few questions and concerns. The question has not been given. So if you are here, please go ahead. If you can mute your mic and ask directly instead of writing. Mr. Obuje, hello. If you are here, please.
Yeah, hello, good morning all.
Good morning,
sir.
So thank you very much for this privilege. I really appreciate this time I have. First of all, to the doctor for this awesome presentation. I am actually learning a new thing. So my concerns are, one, I'd like to know, first of all, the permits to work he talked about. So how long is a permit to work supposed to last? That's my first question. Then number two, I don't know, what does it take to becoming a member of the ASSP? Then number three, I don't know, because a lot of things I really want to look into again. I don't know if this session can be shared with some of us, even though we are not yet members. So maybe we can use for our references. So these are my three concerns at this point. I have a lot more, but let me just leave this for now. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Obama, please, can you address?
Hello. So have a comment, yes, please.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, this is Daniel Osade. I have a comment.
Okay, sorry, please, can we just address Mr. Lawal's before we take the comments? Yes, the duration of PTW is it's always associated with the nature and the nature and type of the work. There are some certain work that might not take long time to do it. Of course, these are part of the things that is probably going to be highlighted in the analysis of every activity. Timing is part of it, and of course, they will always try to give additional period of time so that we make sure that yes, the work is being done within the space of time. So there's no a specific period for permit to work W. So it's associated, it's linked to the nature of the work. How long can this work be done? The membership, I will leave it to my president or membership chair if it's on board to address that.
Yes.
For the presentation, it is my intention from the beginning to appeal to our president Fatima to please, as many as persons that are on this presentation and even those ones that are not here, please let's have a way. I will send them. I've already sent it to our IPP. This slide, but there were some modifications that I've done. So I will send it to you after this and make sure that I'm a teacher, and one of the things that I clamor for is to share knowledge. So please let's get that so that we can make reference to at any particular time in our comfort time. That's my humble appeal. Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll share it down. We'll just get the email address of people and share it so that everybody can have it. We can also share it on the platform. Then thank you, Mr.
Very well.
Sorry, I may not be able to pronounce your name well, Oguje. Thanks for your question. After the meeting, please, you can just reach out to me. I'll direct you to our membership chair. He is on the call too here, so that we can inform you on how to go about being a member. So any other information, please let it go on AOB so that we can meet up with our timing and follow the agenda here, please.
Okay, Madam President, sorry to cut in. I just really wanted to share a comment before you move on. First of all, I want to thank the presenter for the presentation. It was quite educative and very good. But what I want to draw out is that the presentation, we should take it home, because when you give us your inaugural address, you said that living safety, and coupled with the safety moment that was shared by Banky, we should take this permit to work training home, because if we follow it step by step, that means that Bankole colleagues at home, it would have been avoided. In what way?
Yes.
If we have trained our children and our spouse on all the things that we learn every day, at the end of the day, when they finish, the mother or father should be at least take a round check of the house to ensure that all things are okay before everybody goes to sleep, or making sure that everything is okay. Please just let us take it home and make it an habit. Whatever we learn in this our association, we will share it with our family, not only with our colleague at work, but the family is a key one issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mr.
Thank
Joseph,
you,
your hand has been off. It's been on since.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the presenter for the well-lucid presentation that you made this morning. I just want to, because this is a knowledge sharing platform, I just wanted to add one or two things to that. The first is on the characteristics of actually a confined space. Although in the course of the presentation, part of it were mentioned, apart from the limited space for the people who are working in the confined space, there is also the problem of poor illumination in every confined space, because when you talk of confined space, the lighting system is very important for the people to see what they are working, or the place they are working on. Then apart from that, you also mentioned the gas station, but we actually emphasize on oxygen deficiency. That's why you also need to have a medical person for a confined space where the work duration is also more. Then the exposure limits for the people who are working in confined space is also very important. So the exposure limits should also be taken into cognizance in terms of while designing the procedure and work method for the confined space. Then lastly, you talk about the regulations. I think, although I schooled in the UK and I have the UK regulation, which is the Confined Space Regulation 1997. Maybe you can add it to as part of the UK regulations for the confined space work. So thank you very much. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much, sir. Your contributions
We
are
appreciate you.
inclined. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, Dr. Obama, I want to make response. From what he said, actually, some of those medical assistants, whatever, are part of the emergency response plan for each confined space when it's been generated. The medical, the fireman, the point at the entrance, that just thank you for the observation. Dr. Obama, any addition as we are rounding up?
Yes, this is in order. Lightning is a subject matter on its own, very important to be in that place. First aid team also, including a medical personnel, is very important, especially for a very large activity. You could have a lot of the team, in place. The entry conditions also is that's the atmospheric conditions. It's also very, very important. There's no time, like I've said earlier, to have defined the limits for oxygen, for instance, which is 20.96 and so many other probably expected pollutants that could be there. They have entry conditions, and that has to be met before we can talk of it's in order.
Thank you,
we have limited time, so thank you so much also for
thank
that
you,
observation. I appreciate you.
Mr. Lawal, have you been attending to your head is still up, or want to bring this to an end?
No, I've not been attended to. Yeah,
okay,
good morning.
Can we hear your comments?
Thank you. I just want to add to the permit to work system that doctors mentioned or submitted about. Yeah, I want to say permit to work has to do with peculiarity of where it is being functioned or formed to work in terms of the organization. Because like my organization now, what we do basically is we looked at permit to work to expire under 24 hours. Even when a particular sheet will carry for 7 days, but for every day that elapses, for every new day you come to work, you have to renew your permit to work. So it's a peculiarity of an organization, because I overheard one doctor was saying it has to do with maybe the nature of work. Yes, it's one of them, but at the same time, it has to do with peculiarity of the organization. It's just an addition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Noted. Thank you, sir. We are very grateful for this wonderful presentation. And next on our agenda is presentation of certificate to the presenter, and I would like to do that right away. So can you give me the access to share my screen?
Okay, so do you want to share? I should share for you.
You can go ahead and share.
Okay, sir. Yes, you have the floor, sir.
Okay. The certificate is not showing yet, but Dr. Bama, we always count on your professional inclination and service to ASSP. So on behalf of ASSP Nigeria chapter, for this wonderful technical presentation this day, we appreciate you, and we are very proud to give you this wonderful certificate. It will be mailed to you later. It is certificate of recognition presented to Dr. Godwin J. Bama for volunteering in ASSP Nigeria chapter as technical paper presenter on permit to work system confined space management during our bi-monthly meeting held September 23, 2023, signed by the president and the secretary. So on behalf of ASSP, please, thank you. We recognize you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate, and I so much love this certificate given to me. Thank you, good team on the ground, and I thank everybody also on the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, President, over to you on this. I draw my curtain.
Mr. Banky, please, what's next?
Okay. Pardon me, please. So next
now
on
we
the
want to go into the meeting proper. So
yes. Okay. So the next on the agenda is going to be the reading of minutes of last meeting held. So I will be anchoring this. So just in a while, I'll be sharing the minutes of meeting, and I'll go through it. Just a minute. Apologies, please. I'm coming. Okay. Please confirm you can see my screen.
yes, I can see
You
it.
can see, please.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is the minute of last meeting held. It was Nigerian chapter handover ceremony and bi-monthly meeting, which was held July 15th, 2023. And the venue was physical and also virtual. The physical was held at Nikon Luxury Hotel. And the meeting started at about 10:46 a.m. and ended 1:05 p.m. West African time. The attendance we had was 51. And the meeting started with an agenda, starting with the opening introduction, which was anchored by the President-elect Tolu. And then the President-elect called the occasion to order and apologized for the lag in starting by 10 a.m. due to some technical hitches. B, it was the opening prayer. And the opening prayer, everyone stood up to recite the second stanza of the national anthem of the ESSP, for the ESSP to kickstart the occasion. Safety briefing. Safety briefing was anchored by Oba, and the safety briefing was to alert everyone of the exit points and directions to the convenience. D we have is the welcome address by the immediate past president, Dr. Okandu. And it says the immediate past president, Dr. Okandu, welcomed every member and guests present to the occasion. He especially thanked his tenure executive for their commitment to ASSP and for their service to humanity. He commended the contribution of Sasheu Kabir, the immediate past president, Fatima Zubero, Angela Otolu, and other ESCO members throughout their tenure of 2022-2023. E is the ESSP Nigerian roadmap and background and history, which was anchored by Ambassador Napodia himself. And he said the immediate past president deemed it necessary to call on one of the founder of ESSP Nigerian chapter, Ambassador Felix Napodia, for the brief on ESSP journey in Nigeria. Ambassador Napodia commented ESSP Nigerian chapter for standing tall and strong amongst others, and maintained that ESSP Nigerian chapter has remained steadfast in representing Nigeria very well at global level. He remarked on the time consciousness of the ESSP leader and for emulating the global example. He informed the House that ESSP was established in 1911 and Nigerian chapter was established in 2007. He also commended the rotating system of our bi-monthly meeting and annual leadership rotation of the association. He was elated with the awards Nigerian chapter has won, moving from silver to gold and now at platinum level. F is 2022-2023 list of activities and achievements, which was anchored by Mr. Tolu Olubanwo, and it says the immediate past president requested the former secretary, and which is now the president-elect, to give a rundown of their tenure activities and achievements, and were read out, which is listed below. 1, 5 courtesy visit in different locations in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Lagos. 2, conducted series of webinars with awards of CEUs to members that attended. 3, ASSP Nigerian chapter attended IOS conference in Ghana and duly invited technical technical tour to floor mills. 5, we had free $100 award to each attendee of PCSP webinar. 6, with a climax of 3-day PDC exposition in line with the global standard, first of its kind in Nigeria. 7, we had first collaboration of webinar with the Black in Safety Excellence. 8, we also had free registration for our speaker at the PDC 2023. 9, safety competition among students and the awards of prizes. He highlighted that the Nigerian chapter achievement during the 2022-2023 has given Nigerian chapter a global recognition at the global ASSP. G, presentation of gift to 2022-2023 executive, which was anchored by Dr. Okandu. The immediate past president, which was given a gift as ASSP gave a gift as crested frames to his past executive members and the immediate past president, Mr. Shehu Kabiru. H, presentation of finance and accounts. The immediate past president, Dr. Okandu, presented the account, transaction, and financial status of the association to the House. For the PDC, total income was 15,409,710. Expenditure was 18,225,515. He emphasized that the greater portion of the expenditure through their tenure was borne by Fatima Zubairu. He also informed everyone present that ASSP is not a profit-making association. The association got 9 million from sponsors. From registration, we got 4.5 million. We were appointed from some sponsor who earlier had promised. A company single-handedly sponsored the conference bag and requested to be taken to global level. We were on red account balance. We had handing over the sum of 300,000 naira to the incoming administration. One of the ASSP member in attendance, who is by name Mr. Ojo, requested that the copy of the report be presented and shared to members to enable them go through for better understanding. Dr. Okandu, however, reminded the House the hard copy report has been handed over to the incoming executives and promised that the report of about 100 pages will be circulated as soon as possible. J, introduction of new elected executives. Dr. Okandu called, which was anchored by Sasheo Kabiru. Dr. Okandu called the chairman of the nomination and election committee to call on the newly elected executive, Mr. Sheo Kabiru, who is the ASSP INEC chairman for 2023-2024 election, called the newly elected executive members and presented them with certificate of return to office. The first was the president herself, Madam Fatima Zubairu, the president-elect, Mr. Tolu, and the secretary, Mr. George Olumi, the treasurer, Chigozie, advisory member 1, Madam Angela, advisory member 2, Engineer Charles Osuji. K, the new president's speech, which was anchored by Madam Fatima Zubairu. The 2023-2024 elected President Fatima Zubairu, in her speech, thanked God for the opportunity given to her to serve humanity through SSP in the capacity as president-elect and now the 16th president of ASSP Nigerian chapter. The president encouraged all present and her executive to see the platform as an opportunity to touch life, as our tenure will be centered on encouraging people and practice safety. Also, take it down home to their homes, as safety is everyone's responsibility. The president was excited to inform the House that the chapter year executive will officially inaugurate the Black in Safety Excellence BICE, which is a common interest group into Nigerian chapter. L, 2023-2024 annual roadmap, which was anchored by Madam Fatima Zubairu. The president, during her speech, unveils the theme for the chapter year, which is living safety, and encourage everyone to keep talking about safety, not just to follow professionals, but down to the grassroots of humanity. She also presented the House with highlights of the roadmap the team has already laid down to drive the chapter through the year and various committees set up to help run the activities of the year. The committees are: one, we have the education and training, PDC, award, media and publicity, fundraising / relationship, membership, EP, WISE, and BICE. Keynote speaker, which was empowered or anchored by Mr. Wilson. On the highlight of the occasion was a presentation by the keynote speaker on the well-celebrated topic, the cost of leadership. It was a well-articulated short presentation packed with lots of learning points, among which are: one, leadership requires courage. Leadership goes with determination. Leadership requires resilience. Leadership need focus on result and target. Leadership requires end result in mind as the drive for achievement. He ended his speech with a quote saying, "When you lead well, you will exercise more of moral authority than office authority, and that success has many feathers, while failure is the worst orphan." Reading of adoption of meeting of last bi-monthly meeting of 20th May 2023, which was anchored by Engineer Charles. The minute of the online meeting of the last bi-monthly meeting of 20th May 2023 was read in the meeting and adopted as a working document accordingly. And adjournment. The advisory group member 1, Madam Angela O, moved motion for adjournment, and Mr. Yakubu Waziri seconded the motion, and the occasion ended. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Banky, for that. So I'll just throw it to the House now, please. If we have any corrections, concern about the minute of meeting before we move for the adoption of the meeting as a working document. Please. The House is still open. If we have corrections, concern about the minute of meeting before we now adopt it for our working document. Okay, if there are no concerns or corrections, please, can we move for I'm moving for the adoption of the minutes so that we can quickly round up our meeting.
Tolu, the PA, I move for the adoption of the minutes in the absence that there are no method lapses in the last minute as I was present. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tolu. Okay, please, who will second?
Seconded by Bukola Ayo.
Madam Buki, thank you so much. Okay, so as it stands now, that means we have a working document, so we can go ahead with our meeting. Thank you all. Mr. Banky.
Okay, thank you very much, President. Next on our agenda here is the President's speech and any updates. You have the floor, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone here. Thank you for your time. And for our presenter, Dr. Godwin, thank you so much for this wealth of knowledge that you shared with us today. In fact, most times when in the office, when I'm... Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, my pleasure.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir. It's really a rigorous one for you to start signing those permit to work. It's really hectic, but it's always a good thing because that will help to avoid incidents and even fatalities. So just like I said in our opening speech, that all what we learn here, we should take it to the House. We should take it to the people that are not privileged to see what we are seeing, people that are not privileged to know what we know to avoid incident. Just like the safety moment that was given by Banky that has to do with gas. So we should also take it home. Let's try and educate our families, people that are living with us. Let's let them know what safety is all about. Then as the man of the house, or even the woman of the house, at the end of the day, we should go around and check that everything, let's just have like a daily check. If we won't have a checklist, it will go a long way to help, to be sure that, okay, all appliances are switched off, the gas cylinder is not open, is not left unattended to, and to ensure that the cylinders are outside and not inside the kitchen. So please, if any one of us here has that, let's try and just correct it immediately. So thank you. I won't want to take much of our time. I just want to give a brief of what we have done so far from July 1st that we took over to date. So first, after our inauguration, we had our own executive meeting too, and I went to Warri to check on our office to know what is the concerns that the administrator has and what we need to do. I was able to engage with him. I also visited our library. Madam Mercy, thank you so much. I know you are here. Thank you so much for what you did in that library. In fact, when we got to the library, it was functioning. A lot of people were there, and the students were really excited. They have a lot to be learning from. This is a legacy that ASSP Nigeria chapter has due to you. Thank you so much for that. People were excited. I even met with the librarian too. She was happy. She said good things about it, and that people are really making use of the library, and they are really enjoying themselves and having a lot to do to benefit from that. Thank you so much, ma'am. I also had engagement with the student section in PTI. But maybe our second quarter, I'll go to the other section that we have in Uyo to meet with the students. And I was able to know their concerns, which we'll be addressing soon too. And they have some programs too that are coming up, which time we'll provide the information on that. And the team was led by our able doctor who just gave us the technical section today on the PTW and confined space, who also happens to be the advisor for the student section. Brahma, thank you so much for all you do for us. We really appreciate you. We also had the opportunity to visit the PTI principal himself in the person of Dr. Henry. He was so welcoming and also promised to keep a good relationship and continuity with ASSP Nigeria chapter. Madam Mercy, again, I say thank you for laying a good foundation for us and creating good platform for us to be able to interact and to meet and to also sustain the relationship that we have with PTI as a body. Mr. Henry also promised, yes, ma'am. Mr. Henry also promised to give us this continuous support. So please, Dr. Graham, please convey our message to him to say thank you. All this happened on August 4th. That's when I got this information. Mr. Banky, please, can you mute everyone so that the people that...
I'm on it now.
Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So on August 19th, I think we should just give a clap to us for that. We officially had the inauguration ceremony for the BICE, which is Black in Safety Excellence in Nigeria. So this one is now adding to our common interest group that we have. We already have two. So with the BICE coming in now, during this year, we have three now. And we had the pleasure of the global administrator himself in person of Mr. Emmanuel Wifu. I was there to anchor the occasion and give a talk on that day. To everyone that was present, thank you. And for the BICE, which is being headed in Nigeria by Daniel Sadaye, thanks for what you do too. And Mr. Tolu, who's also the coordinator there. Thank you all for what you are doing. So our first webinar was held on the 26th of August. And the topic was professional and economic importance of bridge building from compliance to reliability by Wilson Ekwetu, which was a really engaging one. And we learned a lot from there. That was the first webinar. I want to thank the Education and Training Committee, which is headed by Dr. Ukandu, for making this possible and educative. Thank you so much. Our paper course too, we started that in 30th of August in preparation for our PDC. So we are asking for speakers to come and send in their papers so that we can start the process. We also published for the mentorship essay and safety poster for our awards for our kids to come and participate in. Is a competition If you go to our website, we all see the information there. It's also on our platform where we plan to do the competition like we did last year. At the end of the day, we are going to have gifts for them. We have 3 categories: the first category, second category, and the third category, which is the primary school. We have the secondary school, and we have the higher institution, the tertiary schools. So please, let's publish this so that people can participate and benefit from this. And I also want to use this opportunity to appeal, if anyone who wants to sponsor this, we are open to that. Please just reach out to us and let's do the needful. Thank you. Our second webinar, which was held in September 16th, and the theme was preventing of environmental flooding through waste management, which was taken by Ebu Bukola Ayo. It was well spoken, and in fact, it just came at the niche of time because it was a time we were experiencing a lot of heavy downpour. And so we were able to learn 2 things from there on how for us too as individuals, we need to know how to segregate our wastes so that we also will not cause to pollution and flooding in our society. So it was a good one. Madam Buki, thank you so much for the knowledge that you shared with us. We appreciate it and we look forward to more of it from you. Okay, so so far, for now, this is what we have just done from July to September. As of today, September 23rd. But in the upcoming time, we still have some lined out activities that I want to do. Like for the chapter, what we have another webinar that is coming up in October 15th, which is going to be anchored by the WISE group. Then, of course, our next meeting is going to be in November. We have the WISE, the Common Interest Group. They have their time to tell us what they've done so far, what they have also for us. For the BIS, we have a webinar 2 coming up later today. We have another one in September 23rd by 5 p.m. And they have a membership milestone for October 23rd. Then for our trainings, which is our KSS, we still have another coming up October 7th. Please, let's try to attend. We have another for October 28th, and we have for November 11th. I'm just giving this update before our next meeting so that we'll know what is the programs that we have before our next meeting. And after that, during our meeting, we'll now still give you updates on what is expected again for the next 2 months before our bi-monthly meeting. I also want to use this opportunity to please appeal that we all try to always log on to the website. Go there. We have a lot of educational materials that are there that will be beneficial to us. There are so many free webinars that we should try to attend and listen. There are free courses too there. There are some that you can pay for. There are some that are free too that will benefit a lot from. I have done some, and it was really interesting and it's really helping me too in my own way. You can always check on the Safety Journal. They do a weekly update. If you go to your mail, you see the weekly update that they sent to you as member. Those are the benefits that we get. We shouldn't just stay and not even benefit or go to the site. Go to ASSP.org and get all the information that you need to. There are lots for us to benefit from them. So please, I'm encouraging us to try and make use of our membership. The money we are paying, we're not just paying it for free. There are a lot of things for us to benefit from there. So please, I encourage every one of us to do that. So, and we at the executive, we also had it that going forward, we'll be giving our updates on financial or on our finances that we have. So I think that's just what I have from my end here for now. I want to once again say thank you all, and it's always a pleasure for me to be of service to everyone. God bless you.
Thank you very much, President, for this update. We appreciate you for that. Without wasting much of our time, please, we'd like to go to the next on the agenda, which is on the financial report. I don't know if Chigozie is on the call for him to give the financial report.
Good morning, everyone. I hope we're doing great. Thank you for introducing me, and thank you to Madam President for her detailed report on behalf of the ESCO. So for the financial, I hope I'm heard clearly. I'm very audible, right? Just to confirm that.
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
Well, I hear you very well.
Okay. So for the financial update, I will share a detailed Excel sheet later, but I'll just run us through what we have been doing financially. We had 300,000 that was handed over to us by the pastor school, as was already read when we had a review of the minutes of meeting. That's for the Nigerian account. Then for the account that is managed by ASSP Global, what was brought forward to us, balance brought forward as of June was $8,763.22. That was for June. Then we had received payables for between June and July as well. So what was brought forward as total from June to the end of July 31st was $2,163.22 as well. For August, what was brought forward as at the end of August 31st, 2023 was $2,593.22. So our ending balance as at this 31st of August is $2,843.22. For the Nigerian account, like I mentioned earlier, we had 300,000 naira that was handed over to us by the pastor school. For our July meetings, we had donations from members and the ESCO. I thank every member of the ESCO. They actually contributed a lot to fund the July meeting. So we got donations of about 440,000 naira. Then we had pledges of 200,000 naira. Our expenditure.
Sorry, didn't say another Nigerian. Let me share what we have here so that people can see it and understand what we are talking about. It's always good that we have.
Oh, okay.
So let me just share. Let me share my screen.
I can even share. I can share my screen. Sorry. I can. Who can you share my screen?
Hello.
Can you share my screen? Okay.
I don't know. Can you see my screen?
Hello? Yes, I can see from here.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so let me just pick Chigozie, do you want to go through it? Just go through it so that it will be fast.
Go through it, madam. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, sir. Okay, so thank you, everyone. This is our financial report. Like we said, going forward, we'll be sharing our financial report so that we know where we are. And also, we want to use this opportunity to please ask for support from members, from individuals, whatever it is that you can assist. Like we all know that ASSP is not a fundraising association, that most of these things are funded by individuals or from sponsors that we usually have. So please, if we are seeking for your assistance financially, if you want to help us, you have the account number, we'll still share it too later. You can just send it to our association account so that we'll have the record. So for July, you can see my screen, this is the financial report, and this part is the expenses. So for July, what we have in the, like he said, it was 300 that was handed over to us, 100,000 was in the account, which is 100, that's at July 1st, this was what was in the account, 100,903.75 naira. Then there was a transfer that was sent to of 200,000, which makes it to be 300,000 that was handed over to us. So these are the expenses that we did for our inauguration and the meeting in Abuja. This column here, this column F, those are the expenses description. And we have the income, which is dues, but dues are always given to us maybe once in a year from Global. Then support from individuals. We have Shehu Kabir gave us 20,000. Mr. Abdul gave 100. Mr. Dapi 100. Zainab gave 100. Angela 45,000. Charles Osuji 30. Fatima Zubar 50. Desiree 30. Mr. Ojo 10. Mr. Tijani 50. Mr. Danjuma gave 10. Tolu gave 20. Chigoze gave 25,000. Daniel Sade gave 20. George Olumi gave 20. That was for July when we had our inauguration at the bi-monthly meeting. And so the expenses that we have, if you look at here, all this information here are what is related here. So these are the bank charges for the time. This total expenses was 849,631, with the salary of the admin 40,000, honorarium to speaker 40,000. So total expenditure was 929,751.36. So as at July, this is what we have left in our account, 1,152 naira 36 kobo. So then, sorry, this highlighted one yellow for the Nigeria, our dollar account, usually is global that sends money to us. So it's only $120 and 40 cents that we have in the dollar accounts that we have in Nigeria until the global sends remit to us our dues. Then we'll be able to populate and update the house. So for August, because we're having the brought forward is 1,152.39. For the August, we had an income from Fatima, which sent 120,000 into the account, so that we'll be able to have something in the account to run for the month. Then we made payment for graphics, 10.5. Then Angela also supported us this month in August with 15,000. Expenses for admin salary for August, 40,000. Then the bank charges, which is 58.60. I scroll down here, you see all the information down here. So as at August, we still had 88,035 naira.19 kobo in our account. So coming to September now, our opening balance, which is the closing of last month, we have 88,000 days. And so far, the expenses that we have done for this September, this report is, so for this September is at SAT yesterday. So we've not been able to check. I don't know if anybody has done any support to us, any contribution. So, but this report was as at yesterday. So as at yesterday, we have 77,535 naira 19 kobo in our naira account. Remember, I said we have 120.40 balance in our dollar account. So that is just our report on their finance. Mr. Chigozie, thank you. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll just stop sharing my screen. Mr. Banky, continue, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ma. Next on our agenda is going to be the common interest group, which is for Black in Safety, Women in Safety, and also
the emerging professionals.
Agency profession. Thank you very much. So please, we just have maximum of 5 minutes each for each of this common interest group.
Okay, so thank you. So if you have Daniel, please, can you just give us updates on your activity and what you have for us? Please, 5 minutes. We are really out of time. Okay, if Dan is not on board, can we have the WISE coordinator, Mr. Desir? Mrs. Desir, please.
All right, good morning. Thank you, President. Good morning, good morning, everyone. It's not afternoon yet. Okay, so I'll just give some brief updates on the WISE activities so far and what we have planned for the chapter year. So like some of us may be aware, WISE is a common interest group in American Society of Safety Professionals. And then the whole idea is to support the inclusion and advancement of women within the safety industry. And the way we do that is through education, mentorship, networking, collaboration, etc. We try to ensure that women are successful in their careers. You know that the safety profession is male-dominated, so there are usually very few women. So the WISE group tries to encourage women, to be the best they can be in the profession. So for the chapter here, some of our goals are we'll try to foster advancements of women, like I've said, would be a team that shares ideas, would have representatives who coordinate our local-wise events. We're going to start the mentoring young female professionals and strengthening professional relationships. So we had the mentorship program launched yesterday where we merged female mentors with their mentees, and then the mentoring program will be a one-on-one mentorship plan. For now, we're starting with a few women who indicated interest. Later on, we're going to launch the phase 2 of this program, and it was really a very great session with the mentors and the mentees, and we're hoping that by the end of the program, in 6 months, there will be lots of success from it. Other activities we plan for the year, we plan to have 2 webinars, like the president has said. The one for 14th of October will be hosted by WISE, and then we have another one the first quarter of 2024. We also plan a visit to the less privileged home, and that will be done towards the end of the year in December, precisely. We plan family timeout also, and that will be first quarter and second quarters in Port Harcourt and Lagos. Of course, more details would roll out when we're close to the scheduled dates. And then we'll have a physical workshop sometime next year as well. And then, like I mentioned, we've commenced the mentorship program for women. So I would like to encourage all to join. A lot is going on in the WISE space. So if you're a woman and you're not yet in the WISE common interest group, you're missing a lot. Please join us so that we can make more impact. And then for the men who are here, you can also support, if you know women who are registered members of ASSP and they are not in WISE yet, please encourage them to join so that we can join the moving train and then make greater impact for the group as a whole. So thank you very much. That will be all from me. Madam President, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you for that. That was precise and very, very well articulated. Okay, so for the emerging professional, the head coordinator there is Mr. Dapo. But I've checked and I'm not seeing him online to give us an update from that angle. So if since he's not here, I don't think anyone has an update from that. Mr. Tolu, please, can you just give us, since you're the coordinator there, can you give us for the buys? Mr. Tolu, please.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I'm here, sorry. In the absence of Daniel, just like the president said, we have a couple of things that we have earmarked for the year, but for this month, today we'll be having a webinar with the topic on the essence of being a vice member. It's going to be very intriguing because it's by the global coordinator, Emmanuel Winford. By 5 o'clock, we'll try to start on time. Just try and join and then assess what is important in being a member. Apart from that, we'll come up again in October with information regarding our other programs to the ESCO like we have done before. We'll articulate them up and we'll see that one. That's all from my end.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Banky, please. Next on agenda.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. And the next is on AOB, which is throw to the floor here. Any other business? Thank you.
Okay, please go ahead, Mr. Godwin.
Yes, thank you, my president. I just want to draw your attention to the submission that the student section has made during our visit. First and foremost, I want to thank you for that visit because that visit went a very long way to encourage the members, the students members here. And yes, after that meeting, we have some few indications of some persons that want to even join this group. But however, the issue that I want to raise as an appeal to you and members of your executive team is that we students have a series of programs that they presented. So I don't want to speak. Maybe I want to appeal to you again. You have made so many appeals here, but if you can still make appeals to the people that so that we can have some support also from the floor to the student section to be able to implement some of their programs that they have earmarked for the period. Thank you.
Okay, sir. We will still do that. That's why I was appealing for people's support. So we'll still throw it out. And once we're able to get that, definitely we'll do something from our end too. We are all one, so we'll know how to come about that. We'll talk. Yes, the executive will meet and get the approval. Then we'll do the needful.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so just another update. This is from Ambassador Napodia. He dropped a message on the chat, and he said ASSP-NC membership strength today is 282. And that was the message he just dropped now on the chat. Thank you.
Okay.
So I think in the absence of any other business, can we move to
the next? I don't know what's happening.
282.
282. Excuse me.
So can we move to the next?
So yes, please move to the next since there's no
Okay. So the next on the agenda is adjournment of meeting. So who is moving for adjournment?
In the absence of any further discussions, observations, or comments, I, Tolu, hereby move for adjournment of this meeting to later date.
Okay, thank you. Who is seconding?
I, Odeni Kayode, second the motion for the adjournment of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Over to you, President, for the closing remarks.
Okay. Thank you once again, everyone, for every person from the safety movement, presentation, contributions, questions, concerns, ESCOs. I just want to say thank you, everyone. I appreciate you for taking our time to be part of our meeting today. And please don't forget to always reach out to us. Like I paid when we're giving our financial updates. You can see that it's just some few people that we are running on. So please, if you are moved, you can still support us. We are willing, just credit the account. We'll make available the account so that we can help to do all we need to do. We have our programs out there. Like I said, the take home, please. Let's try and take safety home. Let's engage our families. Let's teach them on the importance of fire extinguisher, how to put on the gas knob, what to do when there's an incident in the house. That will go a long way to help us. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate you for your time. Do have a lovely time out there today and the rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing us. So our next meeting is going to be November. I said it before, let me check again. November 18th, which is going to be our next bi-monthly meeting, and that will be in Lagos. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of us physically. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and God bless you all. Like our usual trend, I think we need to put on our videos so that we can just take a headshot. Thank you. Mr. Tolu.
Okay, so rounding up. So please, just like our custom, please, I request each and every one of us to turn on our cameras so we could just take a snapshot of the people that attended. Okay, wow, I can see Madam Angela, I can see Mr. Coyote, I can see Ajiafa Iza. Okay, So let me just wait for some seconds for others. Mr. David, thank you. Mr. Emmanuel, thank you. Mr. Kayode, thank you. Mr. Stephen, thank you. Mr. James Coker, you're well cited, thank you. Okay, still waiting for others. Okay, I'll just take this twice so that for those that are yet to turn on their camera, they can be on the second round of the snapshot. So I'll be taking it in after the count of 2. 1, 2. I can all smile. Okay. So I will be taking it again. For those that couldn't on their camera at that time. So in the next 2 seconds again, I will be taking the snapshots. 1, 2. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, just with the permission of the president, please. We like to, or we as an association, would like to wish Madam Irefo a happy birthday. We actually posted it on the platform. So I also just want to display it here, if the president will permit me.
Go ahead.
Please, can we see her face? Can we see her face? Well, I've not seen her since the beginning.
Okay, Madam Irefo, please, ma. They want to see your face, so.
No, you won't be able to. You know how timing is different from our own.
Okay, yes, that is
it's
very
just a
true.
sacrifice she's making to be here.
That is very true.
Everybody.
Yes.
That is very
Good
true.
morning.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
You
This
appreciate
our meeting is a special one.
Happy birthday to you, madam.
Send us our cake.
Yes. Cakes and
Congratulations,
drinks.
ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday, ma'am.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Emeritus.
Congrats. Congrats.
I'm so happy to see a lot of emeritus coming in. Thank you. I appreciate you all. Mr. Duma,
yeah.
Thank
it's
you.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so
Congratulations
much.
once again.
No problem.
Okay. So we call it a day. Do have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Banky, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John, I see you. Thank you. Oga James.
Thank you,
Thank you so much. Oga Steve, thank you. Mr. Albert.
Oga Steve.
Madam Monica.
I am here watching quietly, sir.
A man with many titles.
Baoga, I am loyal from here.
I greet you especially.
Well done, sir.
Well done, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Oga Joseph, thank you.